Okay, so today we're going to take a little bit of a closer look into the factor label method. This is how we go about our unit conversions. So in chemistry, there's a lot of formulas that require all of the numbers to be expressed in very specific units for the formulas to work. So this is why we have to do the groundwork for the math to make sure that we know how to properly convert units. So that way we don't make mistakes when we get into the chemistry calculations. So you need to analyze the units in these questions. So you're going to really have to pay attention to your units, and you can really kind of treat them like variables, how you do it in math. So for an example, how many milliliters of milk do you have if you have 2.5 liters? Well, a lot of you would probably know that this would be 2,500 milliliters, right? 1,000 milliliters in a liter. You could quickly look at that and do that calculation in your head. But today we're going to work on showing this algebraically because this is how you do it in chemistry. So for example, if I had 3 over b times b, notice how my units would cancel out there and give me 3. Why would my units cancel out? Well, just like how you know in math, 3 over b times b is the same as b over 1. The reason you can cancel them out is because I really have b over b, right? And anything divided by itself is just 1, and anything multiplied by 1 is just whatever the other number is. So that's why we're able to easily cancel those out to get our answer. So if we were to do our liters in this one, so I have 2.5 liters, 2.5 liters times. Okay, you're always going to be multiplying these ones times. Now, how many milliliters are in a liter? There are 1,000 milliliters per 1 liter. Now, your units cancel out, and you end up just doing 2.5 times 1,000 divided by 1 to give you 2,500 milliliters. All right, this was a pretty simple example. I wanted to give you something you're more familiar with. We'll do the second example. So how many milliliters of ethanol are present in 40 grams? Yikes. So D is density. We should know this from grade 9 science. Density is always in grams per milliliters. Those are always the units there. So I want to know how many milliliters, but I'm starting with 40 grams. So I have 40.0 grams, okay, times, and I know that I have 1 milliliter for every 80 grams, right? I have 1 milliliter for every 80 grams. So my grams will cancel out here. And this will end up giving me an answer of 50.0 milliliters, right? Remembering our sig figs, 3 there, 3 there in our answer. So when you're canceling out your units, you should always be left with the unit that it's asking for or the unit that you're trying to get. Otherwise, double check your work. Maybe you accidentally flip-flop these ones, which we don't want to do by mistake, but sometimes it happens. So I'm going to take you through A. I'm going to do A over here, a little bit more of a complicated example. And then I want you to pause this video and maybe take about, 10 minutes to attempt the other 4 questions. And then see how you do with those. So for A, I'm going to do it off to the side here. Please do these on a separate piece of paper so that you're not cramming everything in together. So the most important part for these is actually to show your work. You cannot just give me an answer for these types of questions. On your test, you're going to have to show the unit conversions. This is for practice. So let's make sure we understand how to do this properly. So I'm going to write down my information here. So it's telling me that $1 is equal to 1.45 Canadian dollars. And it's also telling me that 1 Canadian dollar is equal to 5 pesos. Then it's asking me how many US dollars can I get for 30 pesos? So, what unit did I start with? I'm starting with 30 pesos. So I'm working from pesos to try to figure out how I can get to US dollars. So I have 30 pesos. Okay, and I can't easily convert just from pesos to US dollars right away, right? I can see that I have a little intermediate step here, which is Canadian dollars. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna convert it to Canadian dollars first. So I know that 1 Canadian dollar is equal to 5 pesos. Now I can clearly see that my answer would cancel out to give me my response or my answer in Canadian dollars. But I don't want my answer in Canadian dollars, I want it in US dollars. So I also know that 1 US dollar is equivalent to 1.45 Canadian dollars. Now, all of my units are canceled out. The only unit I'm left with are my US dollars, and all I'm going to do is multiply and divide the numbers like I normally would in math. So now I have 4.1379 US dollars. Be careful though, because my lowest number of sig figs here is 3. Right, they all have 3 sig figs. Remember 5.00, those 2 zeros count because of the decimal point. So I'm going to properly express my answer with the right number of sig figs. So I'll have 4.14 US dollars. Okay, so I want you to pause the video here. I want you to take some time, go through the other 4 questions, and I will take them up with you when I do get back to class. Good luck.